Hi, Richard Norton here with Kapow TV. And I'm standing here with a very, very dear friend of mine, Dr. George Adams. Dr. mind you, eh? Is that true? Anyway, George Adams is here. He's a friend of mine from Sydney, Budoshinkai Karate School, been in the arts forever, an incredible ambassador for the arts, and it's great to be able to have a chat. Welcome, George.
Yeah, thanks very much. Great to be here and have a talk to you.
We're actually up here with ACSD. You know, Barry's got Dave Kovar. He was an incredible coach out from the United States, does some wonderful courses on how to teach, you know, instructor accreditation, everything else, courses for schools. But again, George is typical of his passion for the arts. He's bothered to make the drive all the way from Sydney. So anyway, I always like to mention things like that because it's the people that sort of put themselves out that sort of take one step above being mediocre that really make a difference to our art. So George, your school, tell me about it. Now, obviously it's a full-time school, which is quite a new venture for you, still being in the New South Wales Police Force as a sergeant.
Yeah, that's correct. Look, after, say, 38 years of teaching in school halls, we decided to go full-time. So that's working very well for us. And as you know, that we started off with karate and jiu-jitsu, and in the last, say, 10 years, we've added Thai boxing and also Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So that's been very, very good for us. And we've ventured off into other areas of martial arts because martial arts encompasses a whole lot of other things, and we like to do that as well. So we're very happy with what we're doing in Sydney. So especially with visits from yourself, and that makes it a whole lot better.
Thank you, George. Your nickname, I understand, in the force is the Karate Cop. Give us some background. How did that come about?
Well, look, you know, in the younger days when I used to be a little bit more physical and how I did things, and there were situations where I had to arrest people all by myself, usually about 5, and I know they sound like a bit far-fetched stories, but they're all documented, and that's how I came to be called the Karate Cop. It was actually a name given to me by the newspaper editors.
That's great. Another thing a lot of people wouldn't obviously know about George is, and why for people like myself he's such an inspiration, there's a couple of near-death accidents. One was an ultralight, if I'm correct, and one was off a motorcycle. And both times, without going into a lot of detail there, I'll let George tell a little more about it. He was told he would never walk again, let alone do martial arts. And yet, what I know about George is there is nobody that spends more time on the mat trying to improve himself and become a better martial artist than George Adams. Tell us a little bit about that and kind of what drives you and really the influence martial arts had on you coming through that and giving you that mental fortitude to sort of just forge on.
Well, in the mid-90s, I did have a head injury. It wasn't due to a motorcycle accident, but without going into details, basically I had to have 5 head operations, and they were touch and go every time. It ended up, I had to end up being rehabilitated, starting from scratch, learning how to type and read and all that sort of stuff, and finally got through that. That was great, and just kept up with the martial arts, and they got me through the next few years, and then in 2002 I ended up in an ultralight crash, and that saw me in a big mess. I mean, I wasn't meant to walk or anything like that, but with my persistence, I just felt like I've got to keep doing this, I've got to keep moving. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but I said, that's not the way of the martial artist. I said, well, I've got to keep doing this and get better, and I pushed and pushed, and I keep pushing to this day, and I haven't given up. I still feel problems, but you know they're not there. They won't go away. But you know, I just keep pushing it a little bit more and more each time. So as long as I'm enjoying myself in the martial arts and I've got the inspiration to continue training, then it doesn't really matter how many problems I really have. It's all a matter up here, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds cliche to the audience out there, but it really is about being celebrating what you have and what you don't have. You know, George, I look around, I see so many, I call them victocrats. People like to have an excuse to not dare to participate, to not try and get out of that idea of being mediocre because, oh, my back's bad, well, I'm too old, oh, my knees are gone. And with what you went through, that's why I think and I mean this sincerely, it's so incredibly inspirational that you look at what you have and you don't grizzle and groan, you get on the mat and you just give it 100%. And I think that's a real lesson for a lot of people out there in society.
Look, I enjoy what I do, okay, and I'll still enjoy improving, And that's what we all do as martial artists, to try and improve. So I try to improve with what I've got. And in some ways I'm better, and I'm a lot more knowledgeable. And you know, there are times where I can't do something, but I always find a way to overcome the problems. So, you know, especially in jiu-jitsu, where there are things you've got to be able to do, which I can't do, but I always find a way of doing it, and that, to me, is a way of saying, well, if I can overcome those little problems in BJJ, I can overcome the big problems in my own self.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really well said. Well, thank you, George, for spending time with Kapow TV, and all the best with the club. Anybody out there that travels to Sydney, look up Budoshinkai. George has always got an open mat, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, karate. So I'm sure anybody's welcome to come in and have a play around. As I said, he's a true gentleman, true friend of mine, and again, incredible inspiration. So thanks again, George.
Thank you very much, Richard, and great to see you again, and good luck in your project.
Thank you, mate.
Watch me on Kapow TV. Kapow!